The Exciting World of Bridges by Addison Abramson. There are four types of bridges: arch, suspension, cantilever, and beam. Let's start with beam bridges. Beam bridges are bridges that are supported by two or more piers on each side. These bridges have to be stiffed so they can resist twisting. As you can see, compression is pushed into the center of the bridge as tension is pushed outwards towards the bridge. This creates an equal balance that keeps the bridge stable. The earliest beam bridges were simple logs that sat across streams and other simple structures. In modern times, beam bridges can range from small wooden beams to large steel boxes. A beam bridge rarely exceeds 250 feet. A famous beam bridge is the Manchac Swamp Bridge in Louisiana. Let's move along to arch bridges. Instead of pushing down, the load of the bridge is distributed towards the supporters on each side. In the diagram, you can see how the support for the load is pushed towards the center of the arch, and the load itself is carried outwards towards the abutments on each side. The abutments are the supporters that are on the edges of the bridge. A famous arch bridge is the Sydney Harbour Bridge in Sydney, Australia. Cantilever bridges. Cantilever bridges are bridges that use a pair of cantilevers back to back with a beam bridge in the center of the cantilevers. Cantilever bridges are bridges that are used over large bodies of water or that span a long distance. The longest cantilever bridge is the Quebec Bridge in Quebec, Canada. It spans 1,801 feet, which is 549 meters. Now, suspension bridges. Modern suspension bridges use a section roadway supported by tensile strength cables. San Francisco's Golden Gate Bridge is an example of a suspension bridge. Now that we cover the four types of bridges, let's move on to trusses. A truss bridge is a bridge whose load-bearing superstructure is of triangular units. The first truss I'm going to talk about is the Warren Truss. A Warren Truss is a bridge whose trusses are composed of equilateral triangular units. The Warren Truss's diagonal members alternate between compression and tension. The next type of truss is a Howe truss. These bridges consist of vertical and diagonal members that slope up towards the center of the bridge. The diagonal web members are in compression and the vertical web members are in tension. The last truss that I'm going to cover is the Pratt truss. A Pratt truss is the opposite of a Howe truss, which consists of vertical and diagonal members that slope outward towards the edges of the bridge. The vertical members are in compression and the diagonal members are in tension. Two forces acting upon a bridge are tension and compression. These two forces are opposing forces. Tension is the force of stretching an object out, while compression is the force of collapsing it together. Two other forces that act upon the bridge are torsion and shear. Torsion is when the opposite sides twist in opposite directions, kind of like an Indian burn. Shear force is when the top and bottom are being pushed in opposite directions. Now it's time for roadway configuration. A deck truss is when the roadbed is on top of the truss. A through truss is when the roadbed is under the truss. A pony truss is when the sides extend above the roadbed but are not connected.